Hey, I hope you all have been doing well. Today I have the Guize Face FX contour kits, and these are powder ones that they sent me to review for you all and try out. I have the Daylight for light to medium skin tones and the Twilight for medium to dark skin tones, and that's because my skin tone is right in between. So in order to test it out and see which one was best for it, I decided that I'm going to do this side with Daylight and this side with the Twilight, and then that way it can help anyone else who's considering purchasing it and just seeing which shades works best for your skin tone. And I'm gonna do my review segment at the end, so we'll just jump into the demo now. I already have foundation, lipstick, mascara, and have set with a translucent powder on my face just to make everything work a little bit smoother.
I'm going to be using the tapered highlighting brush and starting off with the highlighter in the Daylight palette, and that's what I'm going to be using on this side of my face. And I'm basically using it to carve out the section where I'm going to put the contour later and also highlight under my eyes because they need brightening up, and a little area under my brow bone. And that's just me dipping in again onto the powder just to make it a little bit brighter. And I'm going to do the same exact thing on the Twilight side with their highlight, and I'm putting it in the same area where I'm going to basically carve that contour. But as you can see, this shade is a little bit darker and it actually completely matches my skin tone. So it's not really highlighting as much as it should, but it does really match my skin tone. So that was actually surprising. It's exactly my skin tone. Here I'm using the contour from the Twilight, and I'm using the brush here to show kind of the angle that I'm going to do it. And it's basically to follow this line that's in front of your ear and go straight down. But of course I went too heavy-handed, and yeah, it's very pigmented. Very pigmented. So I'm gonna try to run the brush up to see if I could blend that out a bit, and also bring it up by my temples and forehead, as well as under my jawline, just to kind of give that a shadow to keep it angular, because I like my jawline to look really defined. I don't know, it's just something I like. And yeah, so I'm just kind of trying to blend that out and make it look a little bit smoother. I'm gonna take that highlight again to try to clean it up a bit, but it's helping, but it's not completely helping, because again, it's the same color as my skin and I feel like I needed something a little bit lighter. Here I'm actually taking the contour of the Daylight palette to put on the other side, doing the same thing with that same angle that goes along your ear. However, it seemed to be a little bit easier just because this time I went with a lighter hand, and that's why I'm dipping into it more. And it was just easier to put on layers with this side for me. So it's starting to feel like this side is probably working out a little bit better, because even with cleaning up on this side with the highlighter, I'm able to get a clean line. And I'm just using a fluffy brush to kind of blend that out a bit to get off the excess powder. Here I'm using the bronzer, which is the third shade in the Daylight palette. And it's kind of hard to see, honestly. It didn't really show up too much on my skin. This is a bronzer on the Twilight palette, which it showed up a lot. It had a lot of red in it, which was pretty, but I think it was probably meant for a different skin tone. So I kind of just put it in the 3 motion that you do for bronzers. So here I'm going to be using the shimmer powder on the Twilight side, and it's more of a golden tone. And I'm putting it onto the high points of my cheekbones, as well as my brow bone and the inner corners of my eyes. And this is a little detail brush. It's really tiny that I'm using on my cupid's bow and down my nose on one side of it, because obviously I have to do the same thing on the other side. Here I took out my crease brush because I'm actually going to take that same bronzer shade and contour my eyes with it, because I felt like it was a really pretty shade, and it could make my eye pop. I don't know why I made all those noises a while ago, but I felt like it just was really pretty. And here I kind of get in a little bit of mess, but you know what, I can blend it out with my crease brush. And when that doesn't work, take an angled eyeshadow brush and use that skin tone highlight color that I was using earlier, and it literally cleans it up like it never happened. And now I'm going to the opposite side of my face and using the shimmer from the Daylight palette. I'm putting it literally in the same places. The only difference between this like shimmer, which is what most people will call like a highlighter in a sense, is that it's more of a champagne tone, and the other one is more of a gold tone. They're both really pretty, but I feel like it's hard to kind of see here that they're different, but they really give off a different hue to them. And here I'm taking that same crease brush that I cleaned off and using the bronzer from the Daylight side to contour my eyelids as well. And you can kind of see it, but it looks a little bit more natural. Now I'm using a buffing brush to kind of just buff everything together to blend it out a little bit more, make it smoother. And this is the finished look.
All right, I'm back. I had to take a little lunch break because I was starving. But if we look at my face straight on, I feel like the clear, like, you know, contouring kit that would fit me would be the Daylight side, just because it seemed like it was easier for me to just get the color tones to look neater, and I think that's because it was just the right shades, whereas this one, it was very easy for me to get heavy-handed and then have to try to clean it up, and then when I tried to clean it up, it got a little bit messier, and you know, some of that is just from me not being as experienced with contouring, but I just feel like I could work with maybe the contour on the Twilight side if I, like, you know, practiced a little bit more, but I think the bronzer was a little bit too red for me, and that kind of like made me, ugh, like what am I supposed to do now when I tried to clean it up and the highlight was like kind of my skin tone. I do want to show them to you in a pan just so you can get an idea of what they look like, because I think even looking at the highlighter on my skin right now, they look very similar, but if you were up close, you kind of can see that like they're different shades. And the same thing, the bronzer here, I love how this looks. I actually prefer it to this side, even though this is more natural and more for like what the contouring is for. But I love that this makes my eye pop. So I'm gonna be using this in like my eye for like contouring anyway. But this is what they look like stacked on top of each other, just to give you a better, like, you know, look at them. So this is the Daylight. And then at the bottom, I have the Twilight. You can see that these two highlights are different tones. This is more champagne and this is more gold. So it's like when you see it on your skin in person, I feel like it shows up a little bit better than on camera. And this is what I was talking about with the bronzers. This one has a lot more red in it. So it kind of was a little bit too much for my skin. Whereas this bronzer is actually very, very light, which is kind of weird. So it didn't show up too much, but at the same time, it kind of didn't muddy up my skin because of the fact that it wasn't too dark for my skin. And these are the two contours. This one I could probably use with a lighter hand and get away with it, but like this highlight is just a little bit too close to my skin tone. If you see my hand and kind of my face here, because I felt like when I put on this highlight, it just kind of looked like I was using pressed powder versus like having it lighter and brighten up and clean up the area. So maybe even using some of these in like cahoots with these, I could get another look, but it's just kind of what they look for. And also, one of the things I noticed about this company when they reached out to me and I was looking at the website before agreeing to try them out for a review, is that all of the pans can actually come out. I think they're magnetic, but I don't want to take it out because I feel like I'm gonna like mess it up. But anyway, you can take them out and then you can purchase the pans separately if you end up using one more than the other, which is pretty cool, instead of having to buy a whole new palette if you're one of those people who's just always grabbing for like one shade, kind of like how I'm probably gonna be using this for like my eyes a lot and probably the shimmer because this has more of a gold hue to it. But anyway, I think they're a really great kit. I like that they're finely milled because it went on my face very smoothly, and I feel like it wasn't getting stuck to things too much because of the fact that it was like of a really good quality. That I hate when I get like chunkier powders because they don't really blend well and they have like a lot of fallout, and I didn't get that feeling with this, especially not with the shimmer. So I really appreciated that. And I think they're a great palette. It seems like they're probably one of those companies that's just gonna like overnight, you're gonna see them all over Instagram when you hadn't heard of them before, because I didn't hear of them before they sent this to me. So I'm actually really surprised that it was this good quality, to be honest. But I'm gonna leave a link down below so you can check them out if you wanted to get anything. Let me know if this video was helpful, if you were, you know, searching for it to see which shade fit you a little bit better, if it helped you out anything. Or if you've heard of Guize before, because I'm kind of curious, because this is my first time, you know, experiencing it. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great night and enjoyed this video. Let me know also what you would like to see in the next video. But have a good night. Bye.